Welcome back to Wrestling Flash. In this WWE and all things wrestling video, we are going to look at hugest plans for Cody Rhodes to dethrone Roman Reigns, the best and worst of SmackDown, future plans for Randy Orton and Riddle, Cody Rhodes destroys former Universal Champion after WWE SmackDown, and more. First, let's look at the best and worst of SmackDown. It was an interesting episode of SmackDown this week. With WrestleMania now behind us, the build-up is all focused on WrestleMania Backlash. This week's episode was essentially centered around one story: the Tag Team Championships. The lack of big stars like Ronda Rousey and Roman Reigns was evident, but it didn't hinder the show as much as one would imagine. Instead, we got an action-packed episode of SmackDown this week with a good amount of storyline progression. Here were the ups and downs from the Blue brand this week. Number 3. Best. Ricochet's successful title defense on SmackDown. Ricochet defeated Jinder Mahal in a crucial defense of the Intercontinental Champion. It could have been a match at WrestleMania, but it likely would have been a short bout anyway. After missing out on the show of shows, Ricochet looked to make a big statement by retaining the Intercontinental title, which he did. It was the right decision, and WWE has been handling him well lately. Unfortunately for Jinder Mahal, the days of his singles push are long gone. Number 2. Worst. The Tag Team title unification. While on paper, RK Bro vs. the Usos is a great feud, we're not a fan of yet another title unification. There has been no word so far on whether Raw will have a new world title, and given that both the tag team titles are being unified, the answer to the previous question is likely that there won't be another separate title. Instead, the unifications seem to imply the end of the brand split. A decision we can't understand simply because of the value of the broadcast deals that WWE has signed with Fox and USA Network. Hopefully, the Usos won't win, as it would be a boring continuation of the Bloodline dominance. Number 2. Best. The push of Madcap Moss. The babyface push of Madcap Moss has been surprisingly entertaining so far. Although it's only been a little over a week since his face turn, one can't deny that WWE executed it perfect. Nobody would have expected Moss to be among the breakout stars of the year, but it could happen. He bulldozed through Humberto this week on SmackDown and is likely to do the same against Angel next week as well. It will be interesting to see how it all plays out. A feud with Happy Corbin at WrestleMania Backlash could be his direction. Number 1. Worst. Making Liv Morgan look like the weak link. This week on SmackDown, Rhea Ripley defeated Naomi. This past Monday, Liv Morgan also lost to Naomi. It's a bit odd that Morgan is being viewed as the weak link, or at least presented that way. It seems as though it's similar to Ripley's tag team partnership with Nikki Ash. With that said, WWE can easily opt to present Liv Morgan as somebody with her own strengths rather than a superstar who is being carried by Rhea Ripley. This wasn't directly implied, but done more subtly. Number 1. Best. Sami Zayn's amazing role on SmackDown. Sami Zayn has been nothing short of amazing on SmackDown this year. He admitted to loving his role in WWE, and it's not surprising as he seems to play it to perfection. He is in the midst of a small TV feud with Drew McIntyre, and he keeps running away in the middle of the match. This caused a furious Adam Pearce to book a lumberjack match for next week. Anything that Zayn touches turns to gold, and it has been no different in his feud with the Scottish Warrior. Cody Rhodes destroyed former Universal Champion after WWE SmackDown. Cody Rhodes took on former Universal Champion Seth Rollins during a dark match following tonight's edition of WWE SmackDown. The two stars clashed at WrestleMania 38 when the American Nightmare was announced as Vince McMahon's hand-picked opponent for the Visionaire. Rhodes made a return to WWE at the event after parting ways with All Elite Wrestling, where he served as an executive vice president and in-ring competitor. After SmackDown went off-air, Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins competed in a rematch won by the American Nightmare. Rhodes hit Rollins with 3 crossroads to win the bout after the former WWE champion mocked the Dusty Flip, Flop and Fly. One of the main reasons Cody chose to return to WWE is to capture the holy grail of wrestling, which he has never held before. On the WrestleMania 38 Fallout episode of Raw, he explained that he wants to correct the wrong that was done to his father at Madison Square Garden by winning the undisputed WWE Universal Championship. The current title holder is Roman Reigns, and the Tribal Chief doesn't plan on giving it away anytime soon. Many fans are interested in seeing a match between the two stars, and so is the American Nightmare. Cody Rhodes shared the following during his appearance on WWE's The Bump. He has truly gotten over via consistency and via hard work. What he is going now with Paul Heyman, and he's an intimidating presence. Obviously, again, it exists. There's a match out there that is likely the match that exists out there. But before the matches, you've got to cross paths in some capacity, and we haven't yet, and I look forward to that. Cody Rhodes is currently set to face Seth Rollins at WrestleMania Backlash next month. It seems like Nakamura will be Roman's next opponent, although nothing has been made official yet. Future plan for Randy Orton and Riddle. Randy Orton and Riddle hold the Raw Tag Team Championships. The team known as RK Bro is currently in a program with SmackDown Tag Team Champions, the Usos. The current plan is for RK Bro to regularly feature on SmackDown over the next few weeks. Roman Reigns won the WWE title at WrestleMania 38 by beating Brock Lesnar. He has now become the undisputed Universal Champion in WWE, holding the World Championships of Raw and SmackDown. Last week, he told his cousins the Usos to do the same and win the Raw Tag Team titles from RK Bro. As per the Wrestling Observer, Orton and Riddle are set to feature on upcoming episodes of SmackDown, building up to a title unification match against the Usos. As WWE continues building up a title unification match with the Usos, Wrestling Observer notes RK Bro are advertised for the next 2 episodes of SmackDown. RK Bro retained the Raw Tag Team titles in a spectacular match against Alpha Academy and the Street Profits at WrestleMania 38. They have faced the Usos multiple times before, but never with a title unification stipulation. It is possible that they could also unify the tag team titles. However, with so many teams on Raw and SmackDown, it would not be a wise idea to have only one tag team championship for the entire roster. Speaking to WWE, Randy Orton spoke about his real-life equation with Riddle while shooting for a documentary. "Once I was around him for a little while, I got to like the guy," Orton said. "We have a lot more in common than I thought we would. I definitely respect him and his attribute, but the attitude initially I wasn't a big fan of. Now it's almost endearing." Huge's plans for Cody Rhodes to dethrone Roman Reigns. Jim Cornette has explained how Cody Rhodes could win the undisputed WWE Universal Championship without beating current champion Roman Reigns. Rhodes made his return to WWE at WrestleMania 38 after a 6-year absence from the company. The American Nightmare transitioned from All Elite Wrestling, where he was also an EVP of the company. While speaking on Jim Cornette's drive-thru, Cornette stated that Rhodes would have to end up with the World Championship sooner or later. He believes the American Nightmare could end up winning the title by beating someone else that initially dethrones the Tribal Chief. Cornette said, "I'm thinking the perfect resolution to this story, and that would make Cody, and that appears to be what Vince McMahon's mission is for him to finally be the one to do it. How soon? I don't know, but maybe they could salvage it if Cody wins it from someone else that won it from Roman Reigns. But Cody's gonna have to end up with it sooner or later." On the latest episode of Busted Open Radio, Bully Ray gave his thoughts on Cody Rhodes winning the world title. According to Ray, Rhodes needs to win the world championship first for himself and then for his late, great father, Dusty Rhodes. Ray said, "Is it about Cody defeating Roman, or is it about Cody winning the championship for his father? It's way too early to give an answer on that. My point is this: when Cody finally challenges for the championship, I want Cody to win for Cody first, Dusty second, not Dusty first." Upon his return to WWE, Rhodes defeated former WWE Universal Champion, Seth Rollins. The American Nightmare was revealed as Rollins' surprise opponent on night 1 of the Show of Shows, as the two men put together an instant classic. The former AEW star faced The Miz on Monday Night Raw and is currently set for a rematch against Rollins at WrestleMania Backlash 2022. Cody Rhodes to destroy Roman Reigns at SummerSlam. WWE Hall of Famer Booker T feels that Cody Rhodes could be a prime candidate to defeat Roman Reigns later this year at SummerSlam. Reigns became the undisputed WWE Universal Champion at WrestleMania when he defeated Brock Lesnar, unifying the Beast Incarnate's title with his Universal Championship. The Tribal Chief hasn't begun a new feud since his historic win at the Show of Shows. Booker T on the latest Hall of Fame podcast was asked by a fan if Cody Rhodes should dethrone Reigns at SummerSlam, as the Tribal Chief is rumored to face The Rock at WrestleMania next year. "I don't see why Cody can't take the title off Roman. In the meantime, Roman can easily get it back by the time WrestleMania come back around. We've got plenty of time to be able to, switch that back if that's the route we're going to go in. If that's the route they're thinking, I suggest, yes, we go that route. The Rock versus Roman, cause it's money." The Hall of Famer added, "I hate booking matches, but for me, this is a case of giving the fans something totally different and unique. We've talked about it, and there's no way we cannot give the people exactly the story as written, just because a lot of people want to see that story, Cody winning the title." He drew parallels between his match with Triple H and how many fans wanted it to happen, and feels that fans may feel the same way about Cody Rhodes right now. Booker T disagrees with critics of Rhodes who feel that he'll become a mid-card talent, stating that the American Nightmare could be a major player in the company. Following his return to WWE, Cody has made no bones about his goal in the company, to win the world title. He expressed his desire to capture the title that his father, the late Dusty Rhodes, couldn't win in his first promo on Raw. After his first win on Raw since his return this past week, Rhodes made the belt sign while celebrating his win over The Miz.